The Nintendo Switch is 9 years old, and for all of those 9 years it's had a problem. Joystick drift. 9 years on, it still hasn't been fixed. In this video, I'm going to show you what joystick drift is, but in addition to that we'll find out why it happens, and then we'll work out, using these iFixit tools and this really nice set of iFixit TMR joysticks, how we can fix it for good, and we're going to do it right now. Mark fixes stuff. Drift is not a software bug. It's not a calibration problem either, not once it's set in anyway. Recalibrating masks it for a while, but it doesn't undo what's already happened inside the module. Inside the original stick is a potentiometer, two in fact, one per axis, a strip of resistive material and a metal wiper dragging across it. Move the stick, the wiper moves, the resistance changes, and the console reads that as a position. Two things go wrong. The track wears thin exactly where you use it most, and the material that comes off does not leave, it sits inside as conductive dust, so the stick is at rest and the reading is not. The console genuinely believes your thumb is pushing. And that's drift. Mechanical, cumulative, and permanent. Which brings me to these and today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by iFixit, who sent me the GuliKit TMR joysticks that will be fitting. TMR is Tunnel Magnetoresistance, and it's contactless. No contact, no wiper, it reads the position of a small magnet instead, so nothing's rubbing off on anything. The part that wears out simply isn't there. You may have heard of Hall effect sticks, and TMR is a step up from it. They're more sensitive and cope with stray magnetic fields a lot better, which matters inside a console. And looking at this original Joy-Con, we can see the best part. It drops straight in. No soldering, no cut traces, nothing modified. Same ribbon, same two screws as the original. A couple of screw bits and a bit of patience is the entire skill requirement. Apart from patience, you'll also need some tools, and iFixit have prepared a kit specially for this job. It contains a screwdriver handle with the bits in the driver handle, some curved anti-static tweezers, these are essential for the fiddly bits, an equally essential long spudger, which we'll use for manipulating wires, and a puck for opening up the Joy-Cons. In case you're interested, this is the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con subkit. These are all the tools we need. Let's start with the left Joy-Con first. And Dano the Australian bear says to remind you that both Joy-Cons are a bit different. Depending on how well your Joy-Con's been treated, there might be a bit of gunge, but on the back there are 4 screws. Some places call them tri-point screws, other places call them Y-screws or Y-wing screws, but it's just Nintendo being a bit difficult. Our kit comes with the 2 screw heads we need. First we need the Y size 00. Removing the first screw, I can see some kind of makeup, perhaps foundation, inside the trigger. We'll have a chance to clean that up later. This magnetic mat is really handy. Take it easy with the external black screws. They're made of some kind of alloy that's somehow softer than the other screws inside. Push firmly and turn firmly, not too fast. There's 4 screws in total, 1 per corner. They're all 6.2mm. Keep them together, but away from everything else. I'm about to knock these everywhere though. Now it's time for our puck. We need to gently push it into the seam at the bottom edge. The opposite end to the L and ZL buttons. Then using the flat edge, slide it slowly up the side. There's almost no pressure needed. If you're pushing hard, you're pushing wrong, and there's components right behind that shell. That's off, but don't just rip it open. With the charging rail facing away, we gently open it like a book. There's 2 cables still attaching the 2 halves, and we really don't want to rip those, so just take care. And talking of taking care, we're going to take out the battery first before anything else. If it's still connected, we run the risk of shorting something whilst we work, and that can actually cause a fire. Dano the Aussie bear says, "Safety first, mate." I'm just going to rotate this around because I'm right-handed. Then I'm going to grab our black plastic spudger. It's non-conductive and makes it easy to pop out this connector. Perfect. And with the battery disconnected, it's time to remove the battery itself. There's screws underneath we need to get to. I need a puck. And using the puck, we lever the battery off its frankly not very good double-sided tape. We then put the battery safely out of the way. Now we need to remove the mid-frame. I nearly knocked these everywhere, thank goodness this mat's magnetic. Holding the mid-frame we can see 5 Phillips 00 size screws, but we only need to remove 3. They're the ones that are located at the top, here and here. That's going to require changing the bits from our iFixit kit to a Phillips head 00. This kit is really handy, and it's well made as well. These screws are just 3.5mm, so make sure you keep them safe. Having the right tools for the job really makes a task like this so much easier. With the 3 screws out, we need to exercise caution again. The mid-frame is free, but there's a thin ribbon under there running to the ZL button. Flip the mid-frame over and away from the board. Next we flip up the flap on the ZIF socket. We then use our tweezers to pull out the ZIF cable with very little force required. And just like that, the mid-frame is free. But there's one final boss before the joystick. The ribbon for the minus button is in the way. We could work around it, but let's just disconnect it. The latch is on the other side of this socket to the last one. We just use the tip of our black spudger to flip it up. Then gently use our curved tweezers to remove the cable. It's always best to do it properly. And on that note, whilst you got your Joy-Con open, you should take it as an opportunity to clean out any build-up of controller cheese that's made its way into the button recesses. Right, let's get the old joystick out and get the new one in. Although, in my haste, I did something silly. I should have disconnected the cable first. Not that it matters on the old unit so much. There's 2 Phillips 00 screws holding this down, and they're 3.5mm again. Whilst they're effectively the same screws as the subframe, I'm going to keep them separate anyway. It's time to whip out our old joystick. But let's go back and remove that ZIF cable first. This is what happens when you don't write a shot list because you've done something before. That's enough about my overconfident hubris. Now the joystick is finally properly unscrewed and disconnected, we can pull it out of the casing, making sure not to rip, tear or remove this black gasket. Before we fit the new joystick, let's have a quick tidy up and remove what I've been reliably informed is Clinique foundation. There's also some on the shell. It's quite difficult to remove until I try OPA, which takes it straight off. Let's grab our brand new TMR thumbstick. Same footprint, same ribbon, same 2 screw holes. This is what drop-in really means. So let's drop it in. It literally just goes through the hole. Then we'll move that pesky minus button cable out of the way and the holes will line up for mounting. Put the screw in the hole, then turn the screw counterclockwise. This is important. We want to feel it drop into the existing thread. Once you feel that little drop, it should screw in with minimal force and not damage the existing screw threads. If you just start screwing willy-nilly, you'll likely just cut a new set of screw threads, decimating the existing screw threads and weakening the hole. And nobody wants a weak hole. We then pop our Joy-Con cable back into the ZIF socket. I'm just gently using the curved tweezers for this. Once it's in the socket, we just need to flip down the latch and then have a quick tug. That feels really good. Now we need to put the minus button ribbon cable back in. I find this one's easier using the tip of the spudger. Just gently work it in and then flip the latch to lock it. Next we need to get the mid-frame on. We need to put that ZL ribbon back in first. These are very small and by this camera angle it looks a bit wonky, but don't worry, that's connected and it will work. Then the mid-frame goes in, carefully routing that ZL cable as shown. To fix the midsection we pop our 3 screws back in, remembering to wind back and find that thread. Try not to over tighten your screws. Once they're in, the midsection is secured. And now the battery needs to be replaced. It goes on this sticky back plastic which you can feel free to refresh if you have some double-sided tape. Just pop it into the tray, making sure that the plus and minus cables route out of the gap at the top of the tray. The battery connector just snaps down flat. Maneuver it into position and then once it's in the right place, push down until it clicks. If you're like me and you've taken a shoulder button off because it kept getting in the way and you forgot to put it back in, don't worry. By gently flexing the mid-frame, you can pop that button right back in. And yes, I know because I've done this loads of times. I like to leave my mistakes in though, so other people can learn from my stupidity. Job done. Okay, time to close up the left Joy-Con. Making sure your ribbon cables fold inwards towards the battery, we close it up like a book. The main thing here is we don't want any wires or ribbon cables to be hanging out or get trapped and severed as we close the case. Have a look around the outside, make sure there's nothing hanging out, and when you're ready, snap it back together. That looks pretty good. And with the case back together, we change our bit again and whack in those 4Y00 screws, remembering to back up and find the existing thread. Once the screws are in, the left Joy-Con upgrade is finished. But there's some things I've pointed out during the left Joy-Con that I won't repeat during the right Joy-Con, saving your precious time. There, that looks fabulous. It's time for the right Joy-Con. And it is different. I am going to speed through the bits we've already covered in the left Joy-Con though. 4Y00 screws out. These are exactly the same as the left Joy-Con. Again, the puck is inserted into the opposite end to the shoulder buttons, and we work it gently up the side, not too deep. Once again, when the case is open it like a book, gently because of the ribbons. The battery needs to come out, so we just pop that connector off with the end of the spudger. Use our puck to gently remove the battery, and we put it to one side safely. Next we need to remove the antenna, but before you touch it, look at how it sits. Maybe take a photo. That grey cable routes through the battery cavity and needs to go back the same way or the lid won't close properly. Use the pointy end of the spudger to pop the coaxial cable connector off of the board and then lift the antenna all the way out and pop it safe. There's 3 Phillips size 00 screws to come out. Again 3.5mm. So we take those out and put them safe as well. And the mid-frame is connected to a very short ribbon cable for the ZR button. Some people like to leave this connected, but I like to disconnect it to just be safe. We just flip up the grey flap and pull it out. It's easy to reconnect, don't worry. And that's all it takes to get to our Joy-Con stick. I'll disconnect the ribbon cable first this time though. Who says I don't learn from my mistakes? Me. Then of course it's just the 2 screws holding the Joy-Con module in place. Again, these are the same sort of screws that hold in the mid-frame, but I keep them separate anyway. Then we just pull our old stick out. This one's had a lot of use and it really drifts. Goodbye. Then we grab our brand new iFixit GuliKit TMR Joystick and put it into place in our right Joy-Con. With a bit of gentle persuasion, we push it into the hole. And then we need to screw it in that position. Not forgetting to wind back to find the thread so we don't damage the post. With the 2 screws replaced, it's then time to move on to that ribbon cable. It can be slightly fiddly, but just persevere. Look at the gold line, that's where the stiffener should align with. Once our cable's in, we flip the latch to lock the cable in position. And have another quick tug. That feels good. Now onto that ZR button reconnection. A lot of people think it's fiddly, but it's really not, and leaving it connected can really risk tearing this fragile cable. But if you place the button side towards the Joy-Con, you get a lot more latitude to push it in and lock down the connector. Now, the mid-frame is currently upside down, and to flip it I want you to pay attention to this groove here. Right here towards the top of the mid-frame. We're going to gently rotate the mid-frame like so, put that slot along the lower body of the Joy-Con, move it up, move it upwards, then flip our mid-frame into the correct position, lining it up with the screw holes. I've done this a dozen times and it's the safest way. Time to screw the mid-frame back into position with those 3 Phillips 00 screws. And then it's antenna time. Who can remember how it roots? Well, fear not, it's actually a lot easier than it looks. First we'll reconnect that coaxial connector. It just clicks on. Then we push the antenna wire into the gully. It just needs to be lower than the level of the plastic. And it's time to replace the battery. Pop it into the tray. Give it a good push down so it sticks to that double-sided tape. And then we need to hook up the connector. Again, it just clicks in flat. Our antenna cable is no higher than the battery, it's completely level. So it's time to close up our Joy-Con. Making sure no wires are hanging out, we snap the case shut. Then we change our bit, and it's those 4 Y00 screws again to finish our Joy-Con upgrade. No more worn out Joy-Cons for us, no more drift. These look great, but there's one thing that people often forget. Even with new Joy-Con sticks, people still experience the old drift. And that's because there's a couple of steps. Of course, new sticks mean that we need to recalibrate that controller. What we can see here is the old thumbstick compensation, and we can see how far off that was. So of course we need to calibrate each one of the Joy-Cons, both sides. And once we've done that, we get a perfect reading, smack bang in the middle. Then you need to do your second Joy-Con, but this is the most important part. You have to shut down your switch, not sleep, but a proper power off, and then power back on again. Before they did that, lots of people were reporting issues with phantom drift, even with brand new TMR sticks. Now we're done, I'm off to play some Diablo 2. Big thanks to iFixit for sponsoring this video. I've been ripped off on a certain marketplace in the past with standard sticks arriving marked up as TMR, so this kit is brilliant news. Big thanks to my amazing patrons appearing on the screen right now. Patrons get ad-free early access to all my videos, as well as behind the scenes videos that are exclusive for them. They're so lucky. Patrons also get the supernatural ability to have the exact spare part that they always need. In a box. Somewhere. That might be a lie. Seriously, thank you so much to my patrons. You make my content possible, alongside amazing sponsors like iFixit. You keep everything going. If you're waiting for the pop quiz, you'll be disappointed, because it's a rock quiz this time. And if you've watched this far, you're one of 0.8% of viewers. Well done. Number 1. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. That's easy. 2. I get up and nothing gets me down. That's easy too. Number 3. A mulatto, an albino. Number 4. Out on the road today I saw a deadhead sticker on a Cadillac. And number 5. Riding through dust clouds and barren wastes. If you've got this far, thank you so much. Please do like, share, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And comment amazing down below, because you are amazing. Thank you. Okay, that's your lot. Go and watch one of my other videos. Cheers! Next video we'll do some soldering, by the way. Not sure what yet though.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.